Hi, congratulations for subscribing to the Options Tactics Playbook, or OTP in short. Welcome you to join the community. The objective of this video is to help you get started so that you can get the most out of these newsletters. But let us start with the objective of the OTP. So the OTP is the newsletter where I will share with you how I spot attractive trade ideas in any market condition, whether it is bullish, bearish, or sideways. Right? You know, when you trade, you can trade in any market direction. Unlike investment, right? Investment, you kind of buying shares and hold for long term. So basically, you are bullish on one stock. But what if you are sitting in the market where the price is not going anywhere, or even it like crashing? You cannot keep pumping money into it, right? Because your bullet is limited. So how can you trade in different market conditions, especially when it goes sideways for a long period of time, or even when the market crashes, and you can take advantage of the options to make money for you? So just share with you the ideas, especially the one that I've been using for more than 10 years now on options trading, so that you understand the thought process and then you see if it is suitable for your risk profile and portfolio. Secondly, I will share with you how I set up a trade from the fundamental standpoint and also from the technical standpoint. And I will use different appropriate option strategies that are suitable for that particular situation or setup. So it's like using a Swiss Army knife. You can use different weapons or tools to fit into the situation. Third, in my newsletter, I also share with you how I analyze the P&L profile of the trades before I enter it. What is the risk, what is the reward, and what is the ratio between risk reward. And very importantly, I also lay out very clearly what is the risk management plan before I enter a trade. How do I repair or adjust a trade when it goes wrong, right? So all of this risk management plan need to be laid out and planned in advance. And finally, part of the newsletter, I will share with you the tracker where I will track my trade performance, both the one that I have entered, which is in my portfolio, and the one that is in my watch list, which I have not entered, but I could potentially enter anytime soon. So those are the objectives of the newsletter. Next, what to expect when you receive the newsletter, right? So typically in the monthly newsletter, I would have an analysis of the overall US stock market indexes, how it has been performing over the past month, and then what is the current trend. Secondly, I will also review the trades that I have closed in the prior month, and analysis on why it went wrong, why it went right, and what is the profit or loss of those trades. Next, I will also review the trades that is still open in my portfolio, how the trades are performing, and is there anything that we need to watch out or any action we need to take to move forward. And finally, I will definitely share with you at minimum 2, if not more, compelling option trades ideas where you can potentially consider for yourself. Again, those are the ideas that is very potential and I could enter any point in time. Finally, part of the OTP newsletter, you will be invited to join 2 Telegram chat groups. One is, we call it one-way channel, which is the Telegram group where I will send out the notifications if and when I enter a new trade, or if and when I come up with the new trade that I put in my watch list. So this is one way. You just receive notifications from me. The other chat group is a typical Telegram group where you can discuss your ideas with your community fellows, or you want to ask me questions, just post it there. So those are the 2 channels that you will be receiving. Here the example of how it looks like for the Telegram chat group. On the left hand side is a one-way channel where I typically send out notification. For example, this one, here's a trade that I just entered, the setup, the execution, the P&L, risk reward ratio, and also leg by leg If I have entered, I have the screenshot of the trade that I have just entered with the entry prices. And below that, I would have the P&L chart. You see the profit zone with all the details that you can do it by yourself if you want to follow my trade. On the right hand side would be a typical Telegram chat group where there's discussions among yourself, and also you want to post questions to me or ask me clarification of my trade. Just throw questions there and you will get my comment on it, or other community fellow will jump in and provide the clarification if I'm not available at that point in time. So how should you use the OTP, the newsletter, and also the resources? First of all, the OTP should not be taken as financial advice nor recommendations, because I'm not a licensed financial or trading advisor. As simple as that. So all I share with you is what I'm planning to do for myself, and it's for educational and information purpose only. Now, before entering any new trade, please do your own due diligence and do not follow others people's trades blindly. For example, sometimes I could enter a hedging trade for my portfolio. You need to ask yourself, first, do you need a hedging trade? If the answer is yes, to what extent do you need the hedging trade? Because my hedging trade is for my portfolio, which could be very different from yours, right? So you have to do your own homework before you take any trades. You need to evaluate the risks and the benefit of each of the trade, whether it applies to you, your unique situation or not, in terms of your thesis, your risk tolerance, and also your lifestyle. If you like the trade, then you enter by yourself, but please don't follow other people's trades blindly. You need to do your own due diligence and you need to take the risk for yourself. Now, in the newsletters, I will use different strategies, and many of which are advanced strategies. And now, if you have not been familiar with the basic or advanced strategies that I'm talking in the newsletters, I would highly recommend you to enroll in the option courses from outside or from AKLTG. So the one that I recommend is the option Iron Shells level 1, which is the basic level, and the options Iron Striker, which is level 2 or the advanced level in the piranhaprofits.com. So finally, after this video, I will have one video to show you how to use the tracker so that you can monitor the trade on the daily basis. Next, what do I trade? Basically, I focus mostly on the US markets. Sometimes I trade in Hong Kong market, for example, but the liquidity is not ideal, so I focus mostly on the US markets. And in US markets, I typically trade the equities, which is stocks, indexes, ETFs, and at times I also trade commodities and index futures. Now, the core of my trade would be definitely number one, bullish trades. Those are the trades that I bet on very strong fundamental stocks. The one that I want to invest in the long term, but instead of buying shares which needs a lot of capital outlay, now I use option to optimize my capital. I do trade a lot on fundamentally strong companies, and you know those companies that have wide economic moat, very consistent and strong sales and profit and cash flow growth year over year. So those are the companies that I like to invest in the long term, so I can use option to construct a long-term investing trade. Or I can also play a momentum trade, especially when it has a good bullish setup, things like break out from the consolidation pattern or dip on the uptrend. So those are the bullish setup that I typically look at and use option to trade momentum on good fundamental stocks. And I also go bottom fishing once in a while when I happen to see some good stock that is beaten down badly because of market condition or some negative headlines, but it doesn't affect the company fundamentals, then I can use a certain strategy to go bottom fishing on it. So those are the typical trades that I'm doing on the good fundamental stock using options. So that is the core positions in my portfolio. And then I also have trades that are, I call it non-directional, meaning I expect the price not going anywhere or go sideways. In the long term, maybe I'm bullish on the stock, but in the short term, the stock may be facing some resistance level, or maybe it's due for a pullback because the market condition. So the concept here is to get paid to wait, right? So you are being paid to wait. So that's the concept. So long term, I'm bullish on the stock. Short term, I think the stock going sideways. While I'm waiting for the stock to break the hurdle to go beyond the resistance level, for example, I get paid. So that's the strategy. I call it non-directional, and often you see me using like calendar spread or diagonal spread or Bunbang collar. So those are the things that I will use. Earning play for sure. I will use different strategies to play earnings. So one of my favorite one continue to be the EPS, which is earning probability spread, and the candle spread as well. So I use different strategies for earning play. Occasionally, I also find some bad stock or the stock that has a bearish setup, and I want to short the stock. You know, shorting the stock by just sell short the stock is very risky. I'm not a big fan of that. So I would rather use options like the put spread or the bearish calendar spread or bearish butterfly spread, for example, to bet on the stock price going down. Also, many times I will have hedging trades for my portfolio, especially in my portfolio. If there's so many bullish trades, it's always advisable to have some hedging trades just to protect the downside in case the market crash or the stock price turns negative again. Finally, in some cases, I would also do some speculative trades. Sometimes I just spot a trade that have very high risk-reward ratio, but the probability may be low. Or some bad stock, but it just happened to be extremely oversold and it could be due for a bounce, for example. Then in that case, I may also want to enter the trade just to speculate on the imminent bounce of the stock. So those are the things that I typically trade in my portfolio. Now, how do I manage my portfolio? First and foremost, diversification. Needless to say, this is the most important thing that you need to do when it comes to managing a portfolio. You need to have, first of all your trades need to be diversified across different securities. If you trade stocks, the stocks need to be in different sectors so that hopefully it won't move together. And diversification is so important. For example, if you are betting on a pharmaceutical company that is developing a vaccine to cure the COVID-19 virus, for example, but the clinical trial fails and the stock nosedives, in that case, you still have other stocks in different sectors to help you mitigate the situation. Hopefully that making money for you to offset with the loss that you have in this particular stock. You also diversify using different ETFs in different industries as well, and you can also trade different indexes or commodities. Secondly, you also need to diversify the option strategies that you use in your portfolio, right? Sometimes you use Bunbang, the bullish trade for a growth stock. Sometimes you would use calendar or the cover call strategy to collect the regular income while you're waiting for the stock to go up. And finally, you also need to have the hedging trade in place, especially when your portfolio is too bullish. In a typical day in my portfolio, you would see that I have something like 10 to 15 positions at any point in time. And that typically spans across securities and sectors, and I also use different strategies for it. Ideally, when I manage a portfolio, the net theta of the portfolio needs to be positive so that every day passes, the portfolio brings me some money. When you have the net positive theta, that means the time decay works in your favor. So when time passes, you get money every day. Next point, don't max out your capacity when it comes to trading. It's always good to leave some sufficient buying power so that when the new trade opportunities come, you have the money to enter the new trade. And my rule of thumb is normally I trade up to 70% of my account capacity and I leave 30% left for new opportunities. And I tell you, trading option, you do not need a lot of capital, right? Even with 70% of your account capacity, you could still have some decent trades in your portfolio. And finally, when you do the trading it's a short term in nature, right? You need to monitor it every day. Unlike long term investment, you can buy and close your eye, go away, look back after a month, 2 months, or a year. That's fine. Trading is different, especially when it comes to trading options, because option has expiry date and time decay and the implied volatility changes every day. So things will change every single day. So therefore, you need to monitor your portfolio every single day so that when things go wrong, you know when you need to take action, right? You don't want to leave the losing trade there and let it run to the max loss. You want to take action as timely as possible so that you can minimize the impact. So that's how I do. Keep in mind, when you trade options, you need to monitor it. So the good thing is I do have the OTP tracker, part of the website, where I will place all the trades that I have entered and also the trade that is still in my watch list, so that you can see how the trades perform every day. With that, hopefully that will complement the whole newsletter that you receive every month and the tracker that you can monitor every day. So these are the general rules of which how I operate my portfolio. I hope you have a better understanding on how to best use the monthly newsletter to make your own best trading decision for yourself. I see you back in the next video.